Welcome, wanderers and seekers of wisdom. You've just discovered lost knowledge unlocked. Picture a hidden library filled with dusty tomes and ancient scrolls. Each page whispers stories long forgotten, waiting to be rediscovered. Here we journey through time, unveiling the mysteries of the past to illuminate our present. From the secrets of lost civilizations to the wonders of forgotten inventions, we unlock knowledge that has been hidden for centuries. Join us as we dive into the unknown, where curiosity leads the way and every discovery sparks a new adventure. Lost knowledge unlocked, where every story opens a door to a world of wonder. Subscribe now and let the journey begin. Your boss is yelling, isn't he? Or perhaps it's the relentless cacophonous assault of the news, a veritable fire hose of negativity and alarm, each headline vying for your outrage, your fear. Your phone, that little black mirror, won't stop buzzing, a constant stream of notifications, demands, and the carefully curated illusions of others' lives. It feels, and perhaps it is, as if everything is spiraling out of control, a maelstrom of external pressures threatening to overwhelm your very being. The sheer volume of it, the intensity, the unrelenting pace, it's enough to make one feel utterly adrift, a ship without a rudder in a tempestuous sea. But what if that's okay? What if the chaos, the uncertainty, the feeling of being buffeted by forces beyond your command is not something to be merely endured, but perhaps, in a paradoxical way, a gateway? Over 2 millennia ago, a man named Epictetus, born into the brutal reality of slavery in the Roman Empire, a condition where his very body was the property of another, discovered a profound and unshakable form of freedom. It was a freedom that no chains could bind, no master could confiscate, no external circumstance could diminish. The wisdom he painstakingly cultivated and later taught, preserved for us in his, resonates with an almost startling acuity in our contemporary age, perhaps more so now than ever before. Welcome to Lost Knowledge Unlocked. My name is Lost Knowledge, and today we embark on a journey, a deep dive, if you will, into the heart of Epictetus's ancient Stoic teachings. We're not just going to skim the surface. We're going to excavate the principles, examine their foundations, and explore in a serious way how these timeless insights can serve to liberate your mind, to fortify your spirit in a world that, by its very nature, you will never fully control. This isn't about platitudes, it's about the rigorous application of profound truths to the art of living. So who was this figure, Epictetus? To truly grasp the weight of his philosophy, we must first contend with the stark realities of his existence. He was born, as I mentioned, a slave around 50 AD in Hierapolis, Phrygia, which is in modern-day Turkey. Imagine that, if you can, to be born into a world where your autonomy, your very personhood, is denied at the most fundamental level. His master in Rome, Epictetus, who was himself a freedman and a secretary to Emperor Nero, was reportedly a cruel man. There's a story, an anecdote that has come down through the ages, that Epictetus once twisted Epictetus's leg with such force that it broke. Epictetus, it is said, bore this torment with an almost unbelievable calm, merely remarking, "You will break it, and when it did break, I told you so." Now, whether this story is apocryphal in its precise details or not, it speaks to a core element of the man he would become. It points to an almost preternatural ability to detach his inner state from his external suffering. While his body was subjected to the whims and cruelties of another, his mind, it seems, was already charting a course towards an unassailable fortress of inner freedom. He was, in a very real sense, forging his philosophy in the crucible of profound adversity. This wasn't an academic pursuit undertaken in the comfortable cloisters of a university. This was wisdom born of direct, brutal experience. Eventually, Epictetus gained his freedom, though the exact circumstances are somewhat obscure, likely after Nero's death. He then began to study philosophy, most notably under Musonius Rufus, another prominent Stoic. Now let's delve into the very heart of Epictetus's message, the foundational principle upon which the entire edifice of his Stoicism is built. It's an idea so simple on its surface that one might be tempted to dismiss it, yet so profound in its implications that if truly grasped and consistently applied, it has the power to fundamentally alter your experience of life. He states it with characteristic bluntness. Some things are up to us, and some things are not up to us. That, in essence, is the Stoic switch. It's the dichotomy of control. This isn't merely an intellectual observation, it's a practical tool, a diagnostic lens through which to view every situation, every challenge, every moment of distress. Once you begin to rigorously, almost religiously, apply this distinction, your life, and I don't say this lightly, begins to change. The mental energy that was once squandered in 1,000 futile directions begins to consolidate, to focus, to become a potent force for genuine transformation. It's about drawing a clear, unwavering line in the sand of your own consciousness. So, what falls on either side of this line? Let's be very clear about this, because ambiguity here is the enemy of progress. What is up to us? Well, a vast array of things, as it turns out. The economy, for instance, you can work hard, you can be prudent, but global market forces, inflation, recessions, these are vast, impersonal systems far beyond your individual command. What other people think of you, their opinions, their judgments, their approval or disapproval, that's their internal weather, not yours to dictate. You can act with integrity, but you cannot crawl inside their minds and force them to perceive you as you wish. What happens tomorrow, the future in its entirety, is not up to us. Accidents, illnesses, natural disasters, the actions of others, the grand sweep of historical events, these unfold according to their own complex causal chains. Your health, ultimately, while you can influence it, is not entirely within your control. The genetic lottery, unforeseen ailments, the process of aging itself, these are factors that operate independently of your will, your reputation, your possessions, your social status. All of these are, to a significant degree, vulnerable to external forces, to fortune, to the whims of others. And what then up to us? This is where the true power lies, where our sovereignty resides. Up to us, Epictetus would say, are our own thoughts, our beliefs, our judgments, the interpretations we assign to events, our impulses to act, our desires, our aversions, specifically the choice to assent to them or to withhold assent. Our intentions, the volitional aspect of our actions, the effort we put forth, how we choose to respond to what happens, our character, the sum total of our virtuous or vicious choices. This inner domain is our kingdom. The modern translation of this ancient wisdom is startlingly direct. Stop wasting energy on what you cannot change. What? So, we've established the core principle, the dichotomy of control. But how do we translate this foundational insight into a practical daily discipline? How do we actually forge that unshakable inner citadel that Epictetus speaks of, especially amidst the unique pressures and distractions of our modern lives? These are replete with specific techniques, mental exercises, and shifts in perspective. Let's examine a few that resonate with particular force today. First, and perhaps most crucially, men are disturbed not by events, but by the views which they take of them. This is a cornerstone of Stoic psychology, and frankly, a precursor to much of modern cognitive therapy. Think about it. You got ghosted after a promising series of dates. You lost your job unexpectedly. Your carefully planned vacation was ruined by bad weather. The event itself is neutral, a raw fact. What causes the suffering, the anger, the despair, the frustration, is not the event per se, but the you assigned to it, the story you tell yourself about it. This is a disaster. I'm a failure. Nothing ever works out for me. Epictetus urges us to rigorously examine these judgments. Are they true? Are they helpful? Can you choose a different interpretation, a different narrative? If you get ghosted, perhaps the story isn't I'm unlovable, but that person wasn't the right fit or lacked the courage for honest communication. And now I'm free to find someone who is. If you lose your job instead of my career is over, perhaps it's this is an unexpected opportunity to reassess, to learn new skills, to find a more fulfilling path. The power lies in your capacity to change the story, and in doing so, to keep your peace, to preserve your inner equilibrium even when external circumstances are turbulent. Second, Epictetus champions the idea that strength, true resilience, comes from doing the hard thing voluntarily. He says, don't run from discomfort, actively in it. This is a profoundly countercultural idea in an age that often prioritizes comfort and convenience above all else. But Epictetus understood that just as muscles atrophy without use, so too does our capacity to endure hardship if we are constantly shielded from it. He would see things like voluntary cold showers, periods of fasting, deliberately seeking out situations that involve potential rejection or social awkwardness, not as forms of masochism, but as essential training for the soul. These practices are your gym, your mental and emotional sparring. They teach you that you can withstand discomfort, that you are more resilient than you think. They expand your tolerance for adversity, so that when hardships arrive, and they will, you are not so easily undone. You build up a world of inner strength. This isn't about choosing misery, but about inoculating yourself against it by choosing small, manageable doses of difficulty, thereby strengthening your character and your resolve. Third, a principle that cuts through so much of the noise of modern discourse: don't explain your philosophy, embody it. Now, it's imperative that we acknowledge something crucial about this Stoic path laid out by Epictetus. This is not, and I repeat, feel-good advice in the superficial sense. This isn't about positive affirmations papering over deep-seated anxieties, nor is it a quick fix for life's manifold difficulties. What Epictetus offers is a discipline, a rigorous, demanding, lifelong practice. It requires a level of honesty with oneself that can be deeply uncomfortable, and a commitment to principles that often run directly counter to our ingrained habits and societal conditioning. One of the primary reasons this path is so challenging is that it demands that we let go of some of our most cherished, albeit often dysfunctional, psychological crutches. Consider the act of blaming others or circumstances for our misfortunes. It's a common human tendency, isn't it? It provides a temporary, albeit illusory, sense of relief, a way of deflecting responsibility. But Epictetus would tell us that as long as you point the finger outward, you remain a prisoner. The Stoic discipline requires you to retract that pointing finger and turn your gaze inward, to examine your own judgments, your own choices, your own contributions to your state of mind. That's a hard pill to swallow. Then there's the ego, that persistent, often clamorous part of ourselves that craves validation, status, and superiority. Stoicism, in its relentless focus on virtue and inner character over external achievements and opinions, is a direct challenge to the ego's dominion. It asks us to detach our sense of worth from praise, from accolades, from being perceived as important or successful in conventional terms. It even asks us to be indifferent to unjust criticism, to not let it penetrate our inner citadel. For an ego accustomed to feeding on external validation, this can feel like starvation. Even letting go of the desire for specific outcomes, as we discussed, is profoundly difficult. We are goal-oriented creatures, and we invest so much of ourselves in our aspirations. To work diligently towards something and yet remain inwardly detached from whether we achieve it or not. That requires a level of psychological sophistication and emotional regulation that doesn't come naturally to most. It means finding satisfaction in the process itself, in the virtuous exertion of effort, rather than solely in the attainment of the prize. This is a high bar. It's hard because it means taking radical responsibility for your inner life. No more excuses, no more if-onlys. It means acknowledging that your peace of mind, your contentment, your resilience are primarily products of your own internal work, not gifts bestowed or withheld by an indifferent universe or fickle fortune. This is an empowering realization, but also a daunting one because it places the onus squarely on you. There's nowhere to hide. But why then endure this difficulty? Why undertake such a demanding discipline? Because Epictetus would argue the alternative is a form of slavery. If your peace can be shattered by an unkind word, if your happiness depends on external validation, if your mood is dictated by the stock market or the weather or the whims of your boss, then you are not truly free. So, we've explored the profound philosophy of Epictetus, its core tenets, and the inherent challenges and rewards. But the crucial question remains, how do we, inhabitants of the 21st century, with our smartphones and social media and relentless pace, Actually integrate these ancient principles into our daily lives. You don't need to don a philosopher's robe or retreat to a remote cave to become a practicing Stoic. The wisdom is timeless and its application can be thoroughly modern. Let's start with a morning reflection, a practice Epictetus himself would have undoubtedly endorsed. Before the day's chaos fully engulfs you, take a few moments, perhaps with a journal, perhaps just in quiet contemplation. Ask yourself two fundamental questions. What aspects of the coming day are truly within my control? And what aspects are outside of my control? And therefore, what can I consciously choose to let go of, to accept without agitation? This simple act of mental sorting sets the stage for a more intentional, less reactive day. It's about priming your mind to operate from that core Stoic distinction. Building on this, cultivate the practice of setting intentions, not rigid expectations. When you embark on a task, a project, a conversation, focus on how you intend to show up, with diligence, with honesty, with patience, with kindness. These are within your control. The specific outcome, whether the project is a wild success, whether the conversation goes exactly as you hoped, whether you receive the accolades you feel you deserve, these are often not entirely up to you. Show up fully, give your best effort, embody your chosen virtues, and then release your attachment to the result. This is a powerful antidote to anxiety and disappointment. Then there's the principle of voluntary discomfort, which we touched upon earlier. This isn't about self-punishment, it's about resilience training. Find small, manageable ways to step outside your comfort zone regularly. Perhaps it's taking that cold shower for a minute. Maybe it's intermittent fasting, skipping a meal to experience and master a minor physical discomfort. It could be deliberately engaging in a conversation you've been avoiding, or even something as simple as choosing the stairs instead of the elevator. Each small act of embracing, rather than fleeing, discomfort strengthens your adversity muscle. You train yourself to be calm in minor chaos, so you're better prepared for major storms. And in our hyper-connected age, the practice of digital detachment is, I would argue, an essential Stoic discipline. The scroll that Epictetus read and contemplated was not an infinitely scrolling feed of curated outrage and envy. Our minds are constantly bombarded, our attention fragmented. Regularly schedule periods of intentional disconnection. Put the phone away for a few hours or even a whole day. Take a walk in nature without earbuds. Sit in silence. Allow your mind to settle, to process, to simply be without the constant influx of external stimuli. The modern world, with its relentless stimuli and its pervasive culture of reactivity, trains us, often from a very young age, to react impulsively, to be swayed by every passing emotion, every external demand, every notification. We are conditioned to seek instant gratification and to flee from discomfort, to outsource our sense of well-being to things entirely outside of our control. This, as we've seen, is a recipe for anxiety, for frustration, for a life lived at the mercy of circumstance. Epictetus, however, offers a profound alternative. He teaches us not to merely react, but to respond with calm, with courage, with clarity, and above all, with character. His are far more than an archaic philosophical text. They are a practical, timeless survival guide for the soul in a world that often seems designed to test its limits. They provide a blueprint for building an inner fortress, a sanctuary of peace and resilience that can withstand the inevitable storms of life. The principles we've explored today, the dichotomy of control, the discipline of ascent, the voluntary embrace of hardship, the embodiment of virtue. These are not abstract ideals, but actionable strategies for reclaiming your mental and emotional sovereignty. They are tools for forging an unconquerable self, so I invite you to delve deeper. Subscribe to Lost Knowledge Unlocked. If you don't like mainstream stories but love hidden truths, then hit subscribe and join us. Welcome to Lost Knowledge Unlocked. Here, we delve into history's forgotten corners and uncover hidden gems from science and philosophy. If you've enjoyed our journey today, don't forget to like and comment below. Now, for the real treasure, hit that subscribe button. Stay curious, stay open-minded, and join us in our quest to unlock the world's lost knowledge. And remember, every like, comment, and subscription helps us bring more untold stories to light. Keep exploring, and let's unlock the secrets together.